Isn't that great, guys? Don't you just love that? I'm going to have to change the time of my show. Absolutely. So, I want to talk with you now. I'll wait for the train to go. Incredible. Okay, so here's where we get into the profitability of your business. Profitability is the key. It is the only thing that matters. You are not in business to work for free. You are not in business to not make any money. So I want to share with you some standard percentages that you should be looking at in your business. Now, if you do not know Mike Michalowicz, he's the author of Profit First, and I am a Profit First professional, and so this is how I operate my clients' businesses based on Profit First, because profit is what matters. So if you're sitting at a 0 to 250K revenue amount, so revenue meaning your total sales less your subcontractor fees and your costs, your material costs. So if you've got sales of 200,000 and you paid subcontractors 50,000 and you paid 10,000 to deliver the product, then you have a $140,000 real revenue number. If you've got that, your profit should be sitting at 5%. Your compensation as the owner should be sitting at 50%. You should put aside 15% for tax, and your operating expenses should at the most be 30%. So when a company is doing less than $250,000 in revenue, it typically has only one employee, which is you. Occasionally, if you're at the top end of that, you may have one subcontractor or maybe two part-timers, but you don't have a big team. Many people are at this stage, this 0 to $250,000 stage. Once you go up from there, so the kind of 250 to 5, your profit should be around 10%. At that point, you have staff, you have a team, you have equipment, you have real hard costs. And so your owner's compensation should drop down to around 35%. Again, tax is 15%. And your operating expenses are up to 40%. You have a team, you have things in place, you have structure. At $500,000 to $1 million in revenue, you should be looking at a profit of 15%, because at this point, you have firm structure in place. This is a hard spot to be in, though. This is it is usually a growth phase. And so there may be lots of expenses that we have to keep our eye on. Your owner's compensation drops down to 20%. Your operating expenses jump up to 50%, because you're putting the money back into the business to invest in the growth. So it's important to know these revenue buckets and the percentages involved, because as you move through this process, you may start to wonder, oh, hang on, I don't understand. When I was making $250,000, I was bringing home $125,000. Now I'm making more than that. I'm bringing home less. And that is a common position to be in. That is a lot of times where I meet my clients. They're like, I had this business. It was generating $10,000 a month. It was awesome. I had all the money in the world. All of a sudden, I'm at, $30,000 a month, and I have less money. I don't understand this. It doesn't seem like it makes sense. But what you need to understand is there's costs involved in the growth. 0 to 250, you can handle the workload yourself probably. Maybe you need somebody on the side. Above that, you can't do that all on your own. You absolutely need a team. And of course, your compensation goes down. But what I'm saying is your profit should go up. Because in effect, the profit is your money as well as a business owner. So always consider that. And then as we move through, the different buckets of revenue, 1 to 5 million, usually your operating expenses are around 65%. Your owner's comp is 10%, and your profit sits at 10. And it's pretty standard across the board. And I'm not making this shit up. This is what happens in business. At the $1 to $5 million phase, things are set up. Systems are in place. At that point, systems are mandatory. And there's a lot of structure involved at that point. So that's where the added overhead comes in. So if you are looking at your numbers and this isn't where you sit, I want you not to panic because it can easily be fixed. It may not feel that way to you now, but it can. So one of the things that is really important when we're looking at these very tangible things in our business, these what I call the physical part of your business, is that we can start to get into either overwhelm, fear, panic, anxiety. Oh my God, it's just too much. And that lowers our vibration. And it actually is detrimental to our progress. Your business growth is a good thing. Ultimately, you need to know where you want to be. So if you like being a solopreneur, you know that probably you want to cap out at $250,000, because if you go over that, you're going to need people. And in effect, at that weird spot between 250 and 5, you're going to have a team, and it's going to take money. That money you pay your team is money you used to pay yourself. So it's doable, but you need to understand where the money's going. And you need to be okay with it. Because ultimately, you're probably investing in your future. I know for me, I look at my business as the long game. What is the long game? Where I am right now may be slightly uncomfortable, but what is the long game? What do I want this to be? That's where I'm heading. So yes, I need to go through some of the growth, and that changes how much money I get out of the business. But ultimately, I'm investing in the future where I get more for doing less. But at the same time, what do you want? What kind of business do you want? And that is always the question that I ask people. Don't want this 7-figure business because that's what you think you need, because you're sitting in judgment and comparison. And I had this conversation with a client recently where she was like, I just want $1 million business so I fit in with my peers. I feel behind. And I went through this breakdown of $1 million launch with her. And I was like, you really, you don't want this big structure, do you? And she's like, no. I said, well, then you want more money in your bank. I would recommend you don't strive for this $1 million launch. I recommend you stick where you are. Because if you push for the $1 million launch, in effect, you will have less money in your bank. So that's just a reality of business, and it's not something that a lot of people talk about. And I think that that is really important. I am all for all the success that you want in the world, but I'm also for you being aligned with your soul purpose and you showing up in life as the conscious entrepreneur, the conscious business owner who creates impact in the world. And it's the impact that matters. And of course, if the impact matters, the dollars will be there. When we focus on the impact we are creating, the dollars will come. I see it over and over again. When you are in alignment, when you're in mutuality with your highest purpose, with your soul's work, and you keep your frequency there, then your business will provide the income. The universe will provide for you. It will all roll out in front of you if that's what is meant to be. And that's an important thing. You understanding your role and your impact is so important to the profitability of your business. Because if you think that, you're here to change how we do business, if you're here to change how we deal with money, if you're here to change how we do transportation, you are a game changer in our world, then as long as you're concentrating on the impact, the money will be there. As long as you stay in mutuality with the highest frequency possible. So just to remember that and not get caught up in judgment and comparison, because judgment and comparison will bring you down. It will bring you down to the lowest common denominator. And that isn't going to get you to the place that you want to be at. So what can you do to have a more profitable business? Well, the first thing that I suggest you do is pull out all your numbers. And as yucky as this is, as gross as this may feel to you, print out a bunch of bank statements, print out a bunch of credit card statements, and start looking through. Really start going through, line by line, what are the costs involved in my business? And before you know it, you're going to have a really clear picture. Because the thing that our bookkeeping or accounting software doesn't do easily is it will pull all the numbers together. It will summarize everything. And yeah, you can drill down and see the details. But actually looking at the expenses that are hitting your bank account and your credit card is very different than seeing a number that's summarized. What is going into your business operations? How much are you paying your team? What is their efficiency? What's your overall profitability? These are all really good questions. How much money are you bringing in? How much do people owe you? How long does it take for them to pay you? Do you have a business where people are paying you when they feel like it? Or do you have a business that you get paid regardless of what happens in their life? They go away on holiday, you still get paid. That's possible. Set them up on auto pay. And if you've got somebody on a payment plan or a monthly service, set them up on auto pay, and they will get charged every month. And it's the biggest incentive for them to get their stuff to you if you're providing a service. It's also a good incentive for them to engage in your program or your service if they're paying for it. So as much as you can automate that, do that. Of course, there will be clients who don't like that idea, and you need to decide if that's a deal